We come all the way up to chapter 7. And Henry David Thoreau, A Life. Chapter 7. From Concord to Cosmos. Thoreau's Turn to Science, 1849 to 1851. The man of genius knows what he is aiming at. Nobody else knows. December 27th, 1858. So I quote, "The law which reveals Cape Cod." The summer of 1849 was so hot that the children were cooped up indoors, and Emerson's gardener had to pump water to keep his new pear trees alive. In the fields the corn rolled and withered, and by the end of July the farmers were cutting it down, salvaging what they could despite the heat. Thoreau was on the move that September, when the acorns were still green, but the poke stems were ripening. Purple, he inventoried all the places within a day's walk. The great meadows, the Baker Farm, the Conatum, Beckstow's Swamp, and the great fields. What?
It is nice.
Nagog Hill, famous for huckleberries, where I have seen hundreds of bushels at once. Wow. Nashoba of Indian memory, from which you see Unkanudnuk Mountain Well. Strawberry Hill, a nurse nook, Ponkautasset, Walden Pond, Sandy Pond, White Pond, what needed a better name, perhaps? Which needed a better name, perhaps God's Drop. It was an inventory of possibility. Transitions are hard to mark, but one can take this list as the moment when Thoreau began to reinvent himself as the writer of world fame. Remember how he had a hard time with his first book, and now he's trying to recover. Thoreau had always walked, so the solution is just to walk. It was how a man without means got from here to there. But in the previous year, he realized, quote, "My walks have extended themselves." And after his morning work, almost every afternoon he visited, quote, some new hill or pond or wood many miles distant. In another year, these long walks would no longer be a diversion from work. They would be the work itself, his major literary project. Remember how Beethoven used to go on long walks and often composed his pieces that way. He was, for the first time, really free of Emerson's expectations, free of the literary marketplace, free of all hopes for travel abroad. With roads to a conventional library career closed, with roads to a conventional literary career closed, Thoreau veered off-road, learning to see familiar landscapes with the traveler's eye, and, quote, advancing eye, wrote Emerson, that saw rivers and which way they run, that like the heavens journeys to and sojourns not. Thoreau's long years, writing A Week on the Concord and Merrimack Rivers, helped him craft that insider's outside view of American history and society. Now he hungered for a wider view of the universe, not that, quote, that old Jewish scheme, unquote, taught on Sundays, but the true geography of, quote, heaven's topography. Such blasphemy outraged his readers even as they admired his limpid nature descriptions. For Thoreau, though, preaching and river parties were not two things but one. not a vague religious pantheon, but a serious attempt to reach beyond the traps of unthinking social convention to true geography. Earth writing, inscribed not in the leaves of dusty books, but in the strata of the planet itself. Quote, obey the law which reveals, and not the law revealed, he wrote. He meant the laws outlined in such books of science as Charles Lyell's Principles of Geology, a foundational work, and the first book of modern science he read. Slipping it off Emerson's shelves in 1840, the opening was irresistible. Lyell reached beyond Genesis to the Hindu, quote, great year, citing the institutes of Menu, to show how the world's most ancient religions, Hindu, Egyptian, and Greek, all recognized in the fossils buried in the earth the cyclical creation and destruction of worlds across unimaginable time scales. Lyell's vision of deep time showed that earth strata were the leaves of a great book of creation, overturning orthodox biblical chronologies and allying the most ancient scriptures with the deepest insights of modern science. Anyone could see this. Simple telescope turned to the heavens revealed astronomical distances measured in millions of light years and entire world systems in every stage of creation and collapse. Geology revealed that those heavens were literally under one's feet. For as Lyell demonstrated, the greatest of revolutions were caused by the smallest of changes, accumulating through eons to transform the planet, mountains uplifted, inch by earthquakes, worn away grain by grain by raindrops. Over and over, Thoreau inscribed Lyell's fundamental insight into his journal. We discover the quote, we discover the causes of all past change in the present and invariable order of the universe, unquote. The present is the key to the past. And to the future as well. The pulse of the universe is beating still. Reading Lyell's changed how Thoreau understood the world. He extended Lyell's insight to the human world as well. As in geology, so in social institutions, we may discover the causes of all past change in the present invariable order of society. The greatest appreciable physical revolutions are the work of the light-footed air, the stealthily paced water, and the subterranean fire. While one cannot in a day see mountains rising or wearing away, one can in a day see the creative processes at work. Imagination does the rest. Thoreau longed to understand the workings of things, and like Emerson, he believed this was poet's work. Quote, the poet uses the results of science and philosophy and generalizes their widest deductions. But unlike Emerson, Thoreau calibrated those insights with the instruments of science and engineering. Quote, how many new relations of foot rule alone will reveal into how many things still this has not been applied. What wonderful discoveries have been and may still be made with a plumb's line, a level, a surveyor's compass, a thermometer, and a barometer. Where there is an observatory and telescope, we expect that any eyes will see new worlds at once. This hymn to science shows Thoreau cashing out the discovery he had made, surveying Walden Pond with plumb line and compass. Early in 1851, he repeated the experiment on White Pond. God's drop. He entered the confirming data into Walden. As his eye searched out causes and processes, his hand grasped with equal ease pencil and foot rule, compass and thermometer, earth and... This didn't mean giving